Now be honest, how many of us follow instructions? Raise your hands. Not a lot. For the typical male, we think, I don't need no stinking instructions. We simply open the box and start. Soon we find ourselves in trouble because we put part B where part AA was supposed to go. And suddenly, that beautiful IKEA piece of furniture looks like an alien invention. Or for our people who love putting models together, check this one out. This is a model of Mont Saint-Michel. You can see the picture. This picture book, if you follow the instructions, makes that. Listen to some of these. And by the way, it's in 5 different languages. Number 1, prepare the fold. Score, then in parentheses it says, cut very lightly with the point of the knife or scissors. Practice first with a bit of scrap paper. And then there are 2 kinds of folds. Blue tabs or 3 long dashes, in case you can't figure out what blue is. Score on the front and bend away from you. Yellow tabs or a dash, an X, and a dash. Score on the back and bend towards you. And now they need to give you more instructions. To score on the back, you can make a hole with a pin at each end of the fold line, turn the piece over, and score between the pinpricks. An alternative scoring on the back is to crease on the front with a blunt point, an empty ballpoint pen, for example. And it continues. If you tear these pictures out and follow the instructions, you get that. I could never do this. These thoughts on models and instructions came to mind when I read the scriptures for this weekend. First, the reading from Deuteronomy. Moses spoke to the people, saying, "Fear the Lord your God." That's my first question. Why? Does God really want us to fear him? Fear is often translated, however, as awe. Have awe when it comes to God. But as the readings go on, I think I can get with the fear part a bit easier. Let me explain. Moses is passing on to the chosen people a message from God. He says, "Fear the Lord and keep his statutes and commandments, which I enjoin on you today, and be careful to observe them, that you may grow and prosper." Well, we may not use the word prosper very often, but success may be the more American culture, that you may grow and have success. These are the instructions. These are the instructions that are not meant to be avoided and feared. We can't just open the box and start. These are given so that we can be successful. Moses tells them, "Hear, O Israel. Hear, O Holy Spirit parishioners. The Lord is our God, the Lord alone. Therefore," comes the instructions, "you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your strength. These are the instructions to build a life worthy of God. Follow God and the instructions to have success in the life that we are trying to build. Now, some of us go to confession because we want to be sure that we don't go to hell. That's imperfect contrition and perfectly fine. I don't want to go to hell either. That's following the instructions, partly, as we'll see later. And some of us are blessed with perfect contrition. That's the desire to go to confession because we know that we caused harm to our relationship with God, and that pains us to know that. One type of contrition has an element of fear, and one has an element of awe. So that's the first reading, and it goes deeper for us in the gospel. A scribe questions Jesus, which is the first of all the commandments? That's an impossible question. It's like saying, which instruction in this book is most important? There are 613 commandments in the Torah. Tell me which is most important. Can you imagine trying to choose? One, know all 613, and two, choose which is most important? Atypically, the scribe really wants to know. This isn't a test. Jesus quotes the Shema that we heard from Moses today in Deuteronomy. Love God with all your heart, mind, and soul. But Jesus adds a very important addition that we need to reflect on. He says, and the second is like it, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. That's the crux of the homily today. Jesus wasn't being a brown-noser and saying, I can give you two. He was saying both of these are equally important, even though they are two separate laws from the Torah. Jesus is teaching the scribe that love of God is inseparable from love of neighbor. Said in a different way, if we don't love our neighbor, we don't love God. If we don't love our neighbor, we don't love God. This passage, I believe, can't come at a better time in the calendar year, a few days away from our election. Everyone, go vote. But remember, if we don't love our neighbor, we don't love God. Jesus makes it inseparable. And in the Shema, love is an action, not a sentiment. It's not acceptable to say, I love my neighbor. You must show it. People will vote differently from you. Someone will win and someone will lose. If we don't love our neighbor, we don't love God. This is tough. And these are the instructions that God gives us to build a life of faith worthy of God. And then the scribe has an added observation. He says, you are right in saying, He is one, and there is no other than He. And to love with all your heart and with all your understanding and with all your strength, and to love your neighbor as yourself is worth more than all burnt offerings and sacrifices. With this inclusion, the scribe demonstrates that action in and of itself is not sufficient to live out these commandments. empty actions that simply check the box but do not have real love motivating them, don't cut it. Today, our instructions are hard, and I fear I don't do a good job following them. I pray that we as an American people will do better at loving those different from us.